let's open Word, go to the Start menu, and just type Word, and you'll find it. And if you right-click, you'll see that you can pin it to the Start menu or taskbar. But let's go back out and look in the Program menu as well, just to notice that we can search for Microsoft Office and Word. And again, right-clicking will allow us to pin it to the Start menu. And there you see Word. Now let's double-click and open Word. And let's take a little tour of the File menu. We'll open a file, and we'll search for a file, and this file happens to be saved in my CHEM 305 folder, the week 13 outline that I've posted for you. I really just want to walk you through several features of Word, realizing that this is not an exhaustive tutorial, but we're hitting the highlights. First of all, saving. Very important. We'll save our files, save them to a defined place, give them a defined name. Notice that we can save to a variety of file types, not only Word, but of course PDF formats, rich text formats, and also plain text. Most often we'll save it to a Word document, however. All right. Let's think about font choices. So if we look at the Home tab on our ribbon, notice that we have a lot of choices about how we write our fonts, and then also notice too that we'll be able to find and replace words later. Looking at the Insert tab, mostly we're going to pay attention to headers and footers as well as insertion of pictures. Design is less interesting to us, although we can set spacing in that section. But let's go ahead. Yes, and we see another place where we can set line spacings. You'll see that there are several ways to do any particular task often. But let's go to Review now, and I want you to enable Track Changes. So Track Changes will allow us to monitor the changes that we include. And we'll first of all choose no markup so that we won't actually see all of the notations about our changes. All right, let's go to View and enable the ruler, and that's going to help us format most of our Word documents. And finally, let's go and open EndNote, and we'll see that it's already automatically authorizing EndNote, although we're not going to do any EndNote work now. So let's go back to Home and play around with our font choices once again. So if you click and select a body of text, we'll see that we can adjust the font, and I like Arial. There are obviously many choices that one could make, but we'll choose Times New Roman just for an example today. And we can double click on an individual word, or we can click and drag to highlight, and we'll change the font size, and we'll see that we can adjust to a variety of font sizes, choosing the one that we like. Usually 11 or 12 is appropriate for most of our classwork. But we can also introduce bold or italic characters, underline, of course. Strike through is a fun one. And in science, subscripts and superscripts are very, very important and very frequently used. All right. Let's see. Internally to our document, sometimes we want to make choices about formatting. So in this subheading, I'm going to underline it to set it apart from the rest of the text. And I can highlight or make bold our goals. And to make it clear that the product is important, we can also select and make that bold as well. We can select a whole group of text. And then noticing too, in our home area for paragraph, we can organize by bullets, so we can introduce bullets to an entire section. And we can also, in that ruler, adjust the indentations. So I can drag that top slider all the way back to the margin to place the bullets, and I can drag the bottom slider to bring the text back in line. Notice that we have these pop-out windows, and here again we can play around with line spacing. Frequently you'll have to double space a paper, and so it's easily done there. But we can always go and undo that last change. Let's look for a moment at margins. We can define our margins instead of accepting the default. We can go to custom margins and enter 0.5 inches for all of our margins. This can be important if we're needing to get a particular document on one page and we're running out of room. We can also set the gutter to leave extra space for hole punching on the right or the left. Usually left is fine. So now we see that we've pushed our text much closer to the margins on all cases. Right, so Word doesn't have versioning like Google Docs does, so it's important to save your work regularly. Please be in that habit. All right, let's think about justification of our text. So we'll highlight a body of text, in this case the whole document, and we can see that we can left justify, center justify, right hand justify, almost never used. I personally like justification according to both margins. Looks more professional to me, but frequently people will just align to the left. All right, let's play around with inserting a header. So if we go to the insert ribbon and click headers, we can create our own custom header, highlighting that text and entering our own. So I'll call this CHEM 305, and it's the fall semester. And this is our Word tutorial for week 3. So we can highlight this text and italicize it, make it bold, alter the color, in some way setting off that header from the rest of the text, although I'm going to show you with a strike through that we almost never are going to change the color in that way. And then we can click back outside into the body of the text to leave the header area. Let's go back and look at footers. We can, or page numbers, actually, let's look at page numbers. We can select whether we would like our page numbers at the bottom of the page or some other custom location. Let's just put them at the bottom right, that's standard. You could also insert footer information here too, but we'll skip that. Let's play with find and replace, also in that home area of the ribbon. So if we click find and go to advanced find, we can search for a particular word. Let's search for the. This can be useful. Find in the whole document, and we found 15 examples of the word the in this document. But we can also go to the replace tab and replace the with some other text. In this case, we'll just replace the with those. And we can just replace all. And 15 instances were replaced with those. We can start over to check the whole document. We can go find in main document, and there they all are, 15 versions now of those. We'd never want to do that replacement, but you'll find examples of times when you will need to replace. Okay. Let's play around with the thesaurus. So we've selected the word review, as you can see, and we found a bunch of thesaurus entries for review, and we can step through different iterations of that. Analysis, we can choose to insert analysis for review, or we can go back and replace it. So it can be useful to decide if you're feeling like your text is getting repetitive. You can replace a word with another from the thesaurus. Word count is another important tool, although you have to be careful that you have not selected a single word, but perhaps the entire document for your word count, just to see where you're at. 279 words in this document. That includes any text boxes, footnotes, etc. We can spend a moment looking at the spell checker. Most importantly, we can ignore words that are not in the dictionary, or we can add those words. You have to be careful though. I've just added PowerPoint with a lowercase p for the point. That means it should no longer recognize PowerPoint spelled that way as a misspelling. So now you can see that PowerPoint spelled that way has been added and will no longer be recognized as a misspelled word. Still, it can be useful to add new words to your dictionary, especially in sciences. Right, so let's play around with some more spell checking. So I've typed some obviously misspelled text, and I can go back through my tab here and try to replace misspelled text. So I can go back and select a word, and I can find a replacement for that and change it. So I will replace spaces with spaces and I don't with I don't. Use the spell checker. It'll save you lots of embarrassment. All right, let's look at inserting pictures. This will often be useful as you create graphical objects to include in your research papers. And I'll just go find that again from the insert menu. I have one image here, which I'll paste in. It's a nice photographic montage that I created. You can rotate that if need be. That's a useless tool in most instances. It might be useful to be able to resize it as you see, as long as you've selected it. And then you can choose layout options should you wish to wrap your text around the image for any reason. Not a standard tool for a science research paper. However, you might find it useful. It's good to have these tools at your disposal. All right. Let's go back to track changes now. And now that we have gotten through the document, let's look at a simple markup, and you can see that it's highlighted the positions that have been edited, and we can see what some of those are. Let's do the all markup, and you can see every last edit that was made in that paper and by which author. This is very useful when sharing a document. And as we step through and track changes, we can accept or reject changes as we choose. I have a variety of other advanced track changes options, not so important in most cases. However, inserting comments is also a useful way to communicate with co-authors. So we can create a new comment regarding a particular editing choice that we made. For example, I don't like Times New Roman. I prefer something sans serif like Arial. Okay, now, what do we always do? We save our documents. It can be useful, especially considering the versioning issues with Word, to create a name that's unique to the edits that you have made. Let's also look at saving documents in other formats. So from the Save menu, you can choose PDF as your output and save that file as well as a PDF or portable document format. And here's the PDF. In this case, with all of the comments and markups, but I can return to no markups and once again save that file as a PDF, and I'll overwrite that original document. But again, be careful when you overwrite documents. Choose your names carefully. And there's the PDF of the document. And it's good to do this because you can see what the output is going to look like when you print it. In this case, I don't like the way that picture is bumping up against the margins.